always a good idea. And now we do see the high yield expansion going down for Drewbie, so definitely does not want to lose that. That would be really bad. Or let that.
The high yield is very difficult to hold on this map just because there are so many directions it can be attacked from, and all these chokes are pretty large. So that's a risky move there by Drewbie. I guess he really wanted the extra income, but he just has to be careful not to lose that. And we do have a couple more pylons actually going down in this area behind Drewbie's base. Not sure if he's planning to warp in units there for an attack, or if he's just doing that to get sight and know if the army's trying to come around the back
Yeah,
there.
I think it might even be for both. That probe is gonna start running around. He did put 2 pylons back there, so that's pretty interesting. I don't know exactly why. Maybe it's like a kind of reverse. I don't know what he's doing there. So those Vikings are in the middle, so he's definitely got to be careful not to let any damage happen to these Colossus here. Like 1 shot out of all of them, and they've already taken out the shields, but he did lose one of those Vikings, so just got to be careful not to let those Colossus get too far behind the main group, as they are going down very swiftly to these Vikings.
Yeah, with these Vikings in the field, Huck really does need to be careful with his Colossus, because these Vikings are just going to tear away at them. So it's really kind of an awkward position for Huck. Like you said earlier, he really needs to have the Stalkers to be focusing down the Vikings, but at the same time he wants to be attacking the ground forces, and it's just difficult to know what to do in this situation. I actually, at this point, Drewbie is getting so many Vikings out in the field that I'm not sure Huck should keep with these Colossus. He is continuing to make them, but truthfully, I'd like to see a little bit of a tech switch by this point.
Yeah, those Vikings are pretty much the hard counter, especially when you have 5 or 6. When they are like 2 or 3 shotting Colossus, it's definitely time to do something else. There's really not too much he can do against this. Scans going down here, and a huge Terran ball meeting up in the middle. Like you said, all these Vikings are going to be doing mass damage. There's 9 Vikings now on the field, and a pretty sizable ground force as well. So I want to see how Huck is going to be able to hold this off, as this doesn't look like it's going to be very easy.
I do also just want to mention that Drewbie is getting an armory back in his main base right now that is almost completing, so not quite sure. I'd actually be surprised if he got Thor's, just because I don't really think it's a necessity for them at this point. So I think he probably is just doing that to get the upgrades for his Vikings.
Yeah, really good game sense, or just really lucky break for Drewbie here. He did catch all those probes mining. There was a little bit of a engagement there, taking out a couple Colossus. I really think these Vikings are going to be a key part in a huge confrontation when it does go down. As you can see, he is getting a lot of Stalkers to try and deal with it, but I just don't think he has enough Stalkers to take out these fast enough to save his Colossus.
Yeah, Huck's still continuing to... Actually, he's finally stopped producing Colossus, so that it does have a lot in the field right now. So maybe at this point he's finally decided that Colossus is just not what he needs right now. If we look at the production tab, actually, he's really not doing much. He's warping in 3 Zealots, and that's about it. Meanwhile, Drewbie is turning that high-yield expansion into a planetary fortress, so good call there. Going to make that easier to defend, putting some missile turrets up around it, and it's really important on this map because it is so easy to kill, but we do have a large engagement going on here, trying to snipe one of those missile turrets, actually, before it finishes. And it's kind of I can't really tell actually who's going to be in the lead at this point.
Yeah, all these Colossus are getting taken out pretty quickly from all these Vikings, so really not too much these Colossus can do to stay alive. Only 1 is left now with a huge ball of Stalkers around it. That is a lot of Stalkers, so he is forcing the cancel on the main expansion here, and it is going to snipe that. Just the range on Colossus now is going to be a huge factor in trying to kill off this army. He's got to be careful with these Vikings, though. He does not want to lose his Colossus. That's what's going to keep him in this game. He has killed almost all of the Vikings. Oh, but that Colossus does go down, so at this point it's only Stalkers on this field. Oh, and Drewbie has to call the GG because there's just too many Stalkers in his base. So instead of attacking that planetary fortress, he just went straight into the production line and killed as many buildings as he could, and he had to force the GG there, as all of those Vikings did go down.
Yeah, it was a very close game, actually. There's a lot of back and forth. It was hard to tell what was going on there, and I do think the main mistake Drewbie made was that he started getting a lot of Vikings, and that's not a bad thing against those Colossus. But then Huck kind of started to realize what was going on. At that point, he decided to go for a more of a ground-heavy army, and Drewbie just got so many Vikings that he didn't really have enough Marines, Marauders, ground units in general to deal with the mass stalkers. Because obviously Vikings cannot attack the stalkers unless they
No,
decide
yeah,
to
I think
land.
you're completely correct there. Just a couple too many Vikings and not enough ground units. Whether he got more, just ground units in general, Marauders especially, to deal with that. I just think he relied too much on the anti-air units, where he could not attack that ground force. Again, it is pretty much the perfect counter, but then against these mass stalkers, it's just really not going to end up working out for you.
Yeah, so like I said, very close game. I am glad we decided to cast that because it was very good. So thank you to all the reviews on game replays that made us decide to cast this. Very close game. Good play by both players, and I think that's pretty
Yeah,
much
so
all I have
this
to
is
say about
Husky
this.
StarCraft? Oh.
No, no, it's not.
Alright, I'm gonna stick with Hugh.
It's
So
either
this is Hugh
you're fine.
StarCraft. See you guys next
And a
time.
mess.